Hey everybody, Weston here, back with a daily deck tech video, and today is another viewer request. I got a request for Edgar Markov. This one's not sparkling in the daylight. Oh man, that joke's kind of dated. But got asked by Hellheart to do a viewer request for Edgar Markov, because he has the deck and he wanted to see how I would build the deck. Now, I've kind of avoided Edgar until this point in time because I don't like him. I don't like him because he's very strong, and every time that I end up playing against him, he annoys the bejesus out of me. But we're here to see what we can do. As you can see, this one's not really a budget build. Just kind of wanted to see what we could do. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. But before I do, I was half tempted to kind of meme on Edgar here by only putting in vampires that came out like back in the day, so like Sengir Vampire, etc. But there weren't really enough at that point in time. So let's see how we built him, shall we? So who's Edgar Markov? For the probably two people who don't know who he is a vampire knight. He's a 4/4 for 3 generic, a red, white, and black. He has Eminence, which is one of the most broken abilities in all of Commander, which is their ability works when they're in the command zone. So what's this ability? Whenever you cast another vampire spell, if Edgar Markov is in the command zone or on the battlefield, create a 1/1 black vampire creature token. Then he has First Strike and Haste, and whenever he attacks, put a 1/1 counter on each vampire you control. So he's gonna just crap out a ton of vampires when you play your vampires, and then if you do choose to play him, going to make all of your vampires big, and right away too, because he has Haste. So we've got our standard vampire package in here. It's pretty standard. I can't lie. I don't have the most creativity with vampires, as it's not a tribe that I usually subscribe to. But we do have Blood Artist in here. Whenever this creature or another creature dies, target player loses a life and you gain a life. Well, if you sack a bunch of your little vampire tokens, then you're going to get to ping people a whole bunch and gain some life. Then we have the Bloodletter of Aklazats, which is flying, and if an opponent would lose life during your turn, they lose twice that much life instead. So when you attack, or if your Blood Artist activates, or any number of the other things, you'll be able to do silly things that way. Then we have Bloodline Keeper. It's a 3/3 for 4. It flies. You can create a 2/2 black vampire creature token with flying, and you can transform this creature, activate only if you control 5 or more vampires, which in this deck, is about as complicated as making a ham sandwich. And Lord of Lineage is on the back here. Flying, other vampires you control get +2/+2, and you can still tap to create a 2/2 black vampire creature token with flying. Which this is pretty easy, right? And then all of your little vampire tokens are gonna get buffed. Then we have Bloodthirsty Conqueror, and this card combos with a million different cards. But it's a 5/5 for 5. It's flying and death touch, and whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. Which is pretty good. Like I said, it's going to combo with some cards down below. We'll go over those when we do. We have Captivating Vampire, which is Vampire Lord, which is interesting that this non-legendary creature, for being a vampire, is a lord. Other vampires, creatures you control get +1/+1. Tap 5 untapped vampires you control. Gain control of target creature. It becomes a vampire in addition to its other type. Yep, this card's a jerk, especially when you're crapping out a million vampire tokens. Cordial Vampire. Whenever Cordial Vampire or another creature dies, put a 1/1 counter on each vampire you control. We have Cruel Celebrant. Whenever Cruel Celebrant or another creature or planeswalker you control die, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Drana and Linvala, flying and vigilance, and yes, this one does have an angel on there, but it also just has Drana. Activated abilities of creatures your opponents control cannot be activated. And Drana and Linvala has all the activated abilities of all creatures your opponents control. You may spend mana as though we're a mana of any type for those abilities. We have Alenda, the Dusk Mage. She is, the Spanish Inquisition conquistador vampire. Lifelink, which, side note, I've always found it slightly hilarious that Wizards, when they chose to do the Age of Discovery we have at home by having the Spanish allegory be vampires, you know, to the Inca and Maya and Aztec flavor that that like Huatli civilization is. I find it very interesting that the Spanish conquistadors were flavored to be vampires because, you know, they sucked the land dry. But lifelink, whenever another creature dies, put a 1/1 counter on Elenda, the Dusk Rose. And when Elenda dies, create X/1/1 white vampire creature tokens with lifelink, where X is her power. So, you know, as you're sacking all of those little tokens, or they die, they all get to put counters on Elenda, and then she makes more. Esper Sentinel is in here for generic value. We have Legion Lieutenant, which also, by the way, this is important. You can take control of your own Esper Sentinel with Captivating Vampire, and I highly recommend that you do, because then he's going to get pumped. So tap your vampires, take control of your own Esper Sentinel, which is allowed, because it doesn't say a creature your opponents control. And then he becomes a vampire, who will get all the benefits of being a vampire in this deck. And then your opponent's going to have to pay more and able to pay off Esper Sentinel's effect. Then we have Legion Lieutenant. Other vampires get +1/+1. Marauding Blight Priest, which is whenever you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life. And, you know, it combos with this card. Whenever an opponent loses a life, you gain that much life. And whenever you gain a life, an opponent loses 1 life. And then they add infinitum. Master of the Dark Rites, sacrifice a creature, add 3 mana. It Dark Rituals. Spend this mana only to cast vampires, clerics, and or demon spells, which will help you if your Edgar Markov dies even once because he is 6 mana. Oathsworn Vampire. Oathsworn Vampire enters the battlefield tapped, and you may cast him from the graveyard if you gain life this turn, which is pretty much every single turn. We do have Opposition Agent in here. We did make this a higher bracket deck, so that way you can steal things that people are searching for, kind of like that manipulative angle that we get from vampire lore, where they can kind of create thralls and, you know, manipulate folks. We have Roaming Throne. You choose a creature type, and it's the chosen type in addition to its other types, and if a triggered ability of another creature you control of the chosen type triggers, it triggers an additional time, which is really good for all of our different stuff here. We have Twilight Prophet, which is like reverse Bob, flying and ascend, and at the beginning of your upkeep, if you have the City's Blessing, so 10 or more permanents, and you don't lose the City's Blessing ever after that point, reveal the top card of your library and put it in your hand. Each opponent loses X life, and you gain X life, where X is that card's mana value. Like I said, it's reverse Bob. Bob has it so that way when you reveal the top... By the way, that's Dark Confidant. That's Bob. When you reveal the top card, you lose life equal to its mana value. This, you gain the life, and, you know, your opponents lose that life. Vampire of the Dire Moon. He's a simple 1/1 flying Death Touch lifelink. Vein Ripper. This card's real good. I opened a foily promo-y one of these in randomly in something in Edge of Eternities, which was very strange. Flying and ward, sacrifice a creature, and whenever a creature dies, target opponent loses 2 life, and you gain 2 life. Vengeful Blood Witch, which is whenever this creature or another creature you control dies, an opponent loses 1 life, and you gain 1 life. Are you seeing a theme? Oh, and then there's Veto. This guy also combos with a ham sandwich in this deck. Whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life, right? So then, you know, whenever you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life. Same thing as that. And then whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. So they combo. Same thing. Insta-win. That's why we had to move this up in a bracket, because you cannot have infinite combos in bracket 2. So, yeah. Voice of Victory. Also, take control of this card if you want to make him a vampire. Your opponents can't cast spells during your turn. Worn Soul Trader, so you can sacrifice all of your little vampires to get treasures, which this is also important since you're going to be like gaining life so much. The 1 life that this is going to cost you is inconsequential. And then we have Welcoming Vampire. Whenever 1 or more creatures you control power 2 or less enter, draw a card. It triggers only once each turn. Then we have sorceries. We have our Blasphemous Act, you know, gotta burn everything that ever existed. Demonic Tutor and Grim Tutor to help us get our combos, because this is a bracket 4 deck, as well as Imperial Seal for the same thing. Jessica's Will to get us a bunch of mana. Rite of Flame, same thing. Olivia's Wrath. Each non-vampire creature gets -X until end of turn, where X is the number of vampires you control. Reanimate, bring back one of your vampires. Ad nauseum, reveal the top card of your library and put that card into your hand. You lose life equal to its converted mana cost. You may repeat this process any number of times. Do this to get you're trying to get your combo into your hand and get it rolling. Chroma's Will, Anguished Unmaking. Burnt Offering, sacrifice a creature and add that creature's casting cost in any combination of red or black mana to your mana pool. I highly recommend this card. It's underrated. Cabal Ritual and Dark Ritual are also in here to ramp out mana. We have Chaos Warp in here, Corrupted, Conviction, Culling the Weak for more mana, Deadly Relic, Deflecting Swap, Mortify. So lots of removal in here, like lots of interaction. Path to Exile, Swords to Plowshares, Teferi Protection to protect your stuff, and Vampiric Tutor. Lots of tutors in this deck. We are running Chrome Mox, Lotus Petal, and Mana Vault for fast mana, as well as our Phyrexian Altar, so you can sack those tokens to get more. We have Skull Clamp to get you cards off of your tokens. We have the One Ring to protect you, and we have the Soul Stone, which is pretty good because you can exile a token, and Urza's Incubator, which you can choose for vampires. For enchantments, we have Underworld Breach, so that way our cards have escape. We have Sanguine Bond, which is which combos with those cards I mentioned earlier, as well as Exquisite Blood. Both of those do. We have the Meatoid Massacre, All Out Assault, which is creatures you control get +1/+1 in Death Touch. So if you wanted to go the aggro route and not the combo route, here's your pick. Whenever this enchantment enters, if it's your main phase, there's an additional combat phase, followed by an additional main phase. I love cards that give additional combat phases. War Leader's Call. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield, deals 1 damage to each opponent, and Anointed Procession to double your tokens. For our lands, we are running Ancient Tomb. We do have ourselves Badlands in here, Scrubland, Plateau, Urborg, the Triumph, Three Tree City, some fetches. We are still running 12 basics because I am a basic land believer, Blood Crypt, etc. Well, Hellheart, let me know how I did. When I make these really high budget decks, I don't want anybody to feel bad. I myself could not afford to build this deck right now without using proxies. So what I do is I build a baseline and feature a few different strategies in each deck. What you saw in here is there are some combos. There is an aggro option, then there's the life gain option, and then there's the aristocrat option. We have multiple lines in this deck. So what I would recommend for those of you like myself who cannot build a $3,500 deck is to go through, pick one of those lines, and find the line that you can do within your budget. Edgar Markov does have a lot of variance around him in terms of what you can do. I know he looks very generic on the surface. I myself can be accused of thinking he was generic, but he does have options. But let me know what you think of Edgar in the comments down below. And as always, I'm Weston with the Hidden Gibbon, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.